Louisiana beer reviews. Here we are at 7:45 a.m. to look at Newcastle Caledonian Pale Ale. This British Pale Ale, it says these date back to the 18th century in England. They were lighter in color than other beers and referred to as bitters. So this would be considered an English bitter. And it's brewed at Caledonian in Scotland. And to my knowledge, it's sold only as part of the 12-pack variety pack with the original Newcastle Brown Ale. Their Session India Pale Ale, which to me wasn't really a session beer at 5.1% alcohol, with its full body, or I should say medium body, but you know it's got a lot of heft to it, and it's relatively high alcohol. So, but I guess they're trying to capitalize on that session IPA trend. I thought it was a great beer. Another oddity about these is that the brown ale is brewed in England, and these two, this and the green label, are brewed in Scotland, and somehow there's like I said in the previous video, there's a meeting point where they package them together and ship them to the USA. So this is a collaboration effort. The original one was the Scottish Ale, which was wonderful. Then the Session, so-called IPA, and now the Pale Ale. This is even stronger, 5.8. If you go to England or Scotland, your typical, let's say the Caledonian bitters, you look on their website, there's a whole bunch of them. Like there's a huge portfolio of Caledonian beers, and they're all like 3.8%, 4%, not 5.8. So, a malt liquor pale ale. All right. Put it in this Lone Star Light, Lone Star beer, Lone Star Light, Lone Star beer glass. There's a lot of smoke sent to me by Pabst Lone Star, in fact, this glass. But I had to pay for the Newcastle Caledonian 12-pack. Forcicada, I've heard this year. Someone remarked that these would be dull. He predicted. He hadn't drank them yet, but he predicted. So let's see. I was thinking that the green label was going to be so blah, and it was really so good. Looks nice. Thick, foamy head. I'll say white, not stark white, but white. A golden appearance. It's so humid out here. It's pretty clear, most semi-clear, mostly clear, bubbly. A little, the sunlight is strong, so a few little light chunks, sediment chunks, but very few. I like these English bitters, like the Fuller's ESB and the Foster's Ale, which used to be called Foster's Extra Special Bitter, but for some reason they changed the name. I guess they thought American mass market drinkers wouldn't like the word bitter, and it does seem like since they changed the name to just Foster's Ale, that it's taken off like crazy. And you see that green oil can everywhere around here, at least. Usually about $1.68 to $1.88 per can. Sometimes they'll have specials $3 for $5. That one has caramel color added. I am not aware of any caramel color added on this one. They look very similar. Newcastle, which is Heineken International, they announced that they would no longer use caramel color in their brown ale because people were, you get these clickbait internet stories where they're saying it causes cancer, like you'll die if you drink it. So they said they're just going to use the roasted malts. This is not as fully aromatic as the India Pale Ale. It's more like mild, maybe a little bit of peat moss, a little bit of medium roasted barley malt. They brew this in the open kettle, according to their Caledonian open kettle method. Little sweet, little fruity, but so little. flavor is really interesting, like caramel, or even more so toffee, bread crust, nicely bitter. I would think the IBUs must be around 30 on this. It has a creamy mouthfeel. Well, when I brought it to that graduation party, they were just drinking them. Oh yeah, this is so good. They're not beer aficionados over there. They're certainly not beer snobs, but they were really impressed with it. And this is the first time I've had it. Medium mouthfeel. A semi-wet finish. It's easy drinking. It's full though. It's like a full sip. I mean, that 5.8 is not hiding itself. And they don't make a claim that this is sessionable at all. For Great Britain, and one of my beer companions in Scotland says we don't like to be called British. Well, he was one of the secessionist faction. I'm sure the Unionist faction says we're proudly British. And we hate the C-sesh. Well, whatever, but I told him, I said I'm totally indifferent to that political question. And anyway, the political question was settled, was it not, with a vote? But in that country, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, 5.8 would be really considered high alcohol for beer. In America, it's considered high, but not really high. 5.8. Same as Mickey's Ice Brewed Ale. I don't know how many of you have had Mickey's Ice Brewed Ale, but it's an interesting beer. It's more like a cream ale. It doesn't have the fruitiness of this or the toffee or caramel, but it has a heft to it, and the alcohol presence is interesting. Also, you get the National Bohemian Ice, which is 5.8, and that has the heft. You know, those are lagers, so they have. I mean, that one is a lager, so it has that snappiness to it, whatnot. You know, but the Mickey's is not as snappy, but it has some. You know, those cream ales or hybrid type ales with lager characteristics, and they're kind of a strange oddity type beer. This is a full-on ESB, and it's a wonderful one. Don't fool yourself. Don't cheat yourself, because you can get some great beers from Heineken International. They know what they're doing. They're master brewers. They can put out the, run-of-the-mill stuff like Amstel Light, which to me is very good. And there's a whole line of Amstel beers which cannot even get over here, which I'd love to try. You can get your Heineken Dark, which is interesting. Over in Holland, you can get the Torvebock, which is like 6%. So they can do great stuff in there. Their Newcastle line shows that, because before they acquired Newcastle, they basically just made Newcastle Brewed, the brown ale, and they started experimenting. And so I would recommend you try the Werewolf, try the Cabbie, the Blonde Bombshell, and all of that. Of course, most of their beers, even though they're flavorful, they're like subtle. They're like nuanced. They're not in your face, ultra hoppy. And I mean, there's a place for that. Go get some hop stupid from Lagunitas, and that will fulfill that that desire. But in some ways, it reminds me of Shipyard, which their beers are sort of subtle, and people will think they're not good when they're not taking time to think about them. So this one is one of those. It's like it's very low profile in a lot of its presentation, but it's wonderful nonetheless. So how would I rate it? I'm going to give it a solid A. I think it's a very good beer. It's most excellent. So an A, another winner from the Heineken House of Ideas. And I'm going to end this review by saying, y'all come on down to sunny and very rainy actually lately. Cut the grass Thursday. It's 3 days later, and it's already looking shaggy. Southeastern Louisiana.